A new month approaches as baseball and softball is in full force. We are thrilled to welcome you to the Red Fox Report's preview show for baseball and softball alongside Nick Chiarito, Nate Babcock, Mike Duda, William Rosen on hand. Let's get us right started, Mike. Are you ready?
Strike.
No.
The batter has elected to challenge the pitch.
I think after previous review, the call on the field is that softball started out their season with 3 important games, big-time opponents.
Yeah, they started their season down in the Charleston Southern Tournament in Game 2 against College of Charleston. Marist leading 3-2 in the bottom of the 4th. Haley Cannon takes Stella Blanchard deep to center field. That's her first homer of the year, ties the game at 3 apiece, and that would lead to extra softball in the top of the 8th. Bella Mannery at third. The rookie, Annabelle Geyser, squeaks one past the third baseman for an RBI double, gives Marist a 5-4 lead. Geyser earned COMAC Rookie of the Week, leading Marist to the 6-5 victory. And in the final game of the tournament against Charleston Southern, bottom of the 7th, Emma Smith split the outfielders. Blakely Kingsman scores, but Jordan Diamond will get gunned down at the plate. The game would tie at 4, and the game would go into extra innings. And with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th, Charlie Yorman with the grounder to the third baseman, doesn't know there's not a force play, throws to first base, an error occurs, leading the winning run to score as Charleston Southern would win the final game 5-4.
Marist heads to Tampa to take on South Florida for the USF Invitational. Bottom of the 1st, no scores. Jamia Nelson rips a 2-run double to left center. South Florida takes an early 2-0 lead in the 1st inning. In the 6th, Florida up 2-1. Alex Wilkes drives it into the deep left to extend South Florida's lead as the Red Foxes would fall to South Florida 3-1.
Hey, how about upset alert? Marist softball playing ranked 22 South Carolina in the 4th inning, game tied at 0. Sienna Kunze, a deep drive to left center field with the 2-run homer. That would be all the offense in the game. Kunze earned MAC Player of the Week, hitting .444 over the weekend with a 1,300 OPS. And then in the bottom of the 5th, Marist still leading 2-0. Carly Shelton with an RBI single into center field. Shelton puts South Carolina within 1 run, and that would be the final score of the game. Marist would win 2-1 onto Ava Metzger. This was a big performance for her. She had a UCL and ACL injury that hampered her career, and she's really come on strong for the Red Foxes this season, so this was a big win for her.
Let's head down to Chapel Hill for the Mizuno Showdown. Game 4 after Marist lost the first 3. Bottom of the 3rd, tied at 2 apiece. Marist tries to get the lead runner, but an unearned run scored on the error by McKenna Manley as UNC takes a 3-2 lead. Same inning, the score would jump to 7-2. Shelby Barbie would hit a no-doubt grand slam over the scoreboard as Marist's unearned run leads to a 12-2 loss in their last Power Conference series of the year to DeChicchis. 2-inning pitch, 6 unearned runs, and 2 earned runs on the day as the Tar Heels.
Tournament, that's the Charleston Southern Tournament in which they started the year. But guys, I'm not worried about that. According to RPI, they played teams that were 106 points in the RPI statistic better than them. Their non-conference slate was really impressive. Something that Coach Joe talked about. I'm not worried at all about this non-conference slate.
No, not at all. They want to be thrown in the fire. Just figure out ways that you could lose an out of conference. And when you get in conference, you beat a team like South Carolina, and you have that confidence at your sails.
Not only that, Ava Metzger had another great game against ASU. 3 earned runs. Joe told me yesterday that he felt that they had a better chance because the first base umpire called a home run a foul ball, and then the home plate umpire called it a home run. But when I've talked to some of the players on the team, Haley R calls the out-of-conference slate preseason. Mm-hmm. They just want to build good habits getting into MAC play.
A really tough out-of-conference slate and a lot of unknowns really coming into this out-of-conference slate with a lot of roster turnover.
Without a doubt, the 3 key players that they lost, Kaylie Myers, who was the MAC pitcher of the year in 2024 and won 2 MAC tournament MVPs. Maddie Pleasance, who won a MAC Player of the Year in 23 and MAC Pitcher of the Year in 25. She hit 22 homers and 74 RBIs. And then the big one, Maya McDonald, 2 back-to-back MAC Player of the Years, set the program record in total home runs. She led in a bunch of categories that have recently been passed this season. And then some other key players, Ronnie Howard, Maddie Gore, and Caitlin Husick were good for creating a very sound defense.
Maya McDonald, one of the best players, arguably the best player ever to step foot in a Marist softball uniform. But they brought in 7 new freshmen and that transfer in Metzger that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, Maya McDonald, Maddie Pleasance, and Ronnie Howard, 194 hits gone from the roster. They're going to have to make up for that in other ways.
It was really Metzger, though, who came in to Poughkeepsie and really has shown off.
I mean, she had injuries to start her career, but she came into the circle and has really started playing really well. I caught up with Ava Metzger not too long ago to talk about how she's become the new ace for the Red Foxes.
Ava, thanks so much for taking the time
Thanks
to join
for
me.
having me.
You and Stella have been great. Recently, you specifically in your last 5 starts, 33 innings, .8 ERA, and it started with that game against South Carolina, which I know for you meant a little bit more than just an upset win.
Yeah, no, it definitely brought tears of joy and tears of happiness, just because I've gone through so much just to get to that point of life again and really prove to myself that, I am here and I can do what I did back before injury and can truly believe in myself.
And that win came at a time where in your last 2 out-of-conference tournaments, you guys only won 1 game.
Yeah.
With that being the win, how did that, guys, impact you looking forward to MAC play?
I think that definitely impacted our MAC play. It just motivated us all to be there for one another, and we can beat these really big power ranked teams. The MAC still has scrappy competition, but knowing that we could beat a Power 4 school definitely helped us to gear that mindset of we could beat anyone.
Every pitcher has to have a great relationship with their catcher.
Yeah.
Can you speak to your relationship with Bella?
No, I love Bella Mannery. We get along so well. I like to have a fun time out on the field, so I'm not always locked in like some other girls, but I just know she will always have my back regardless of what the outcome is, and I love having her behind the dish for me.
And I know Bella isn't the one calling the pitches, it's Joe, and he felt at your time at Manhattan,
Yeah.
he didn't think they were calling a good game for you.
Yeah.
How have you liked Joe's play calling?
No, I think Joe's play calling, definitely kudos to him, because he's really learned me and studied me as a pitcher to know what really works for my game to make me be successful for the team. I definitely agree with him. My time at Manhattan maybe wasn't the strongest, so I'm glad that he's able to really take the time to get to know me as an athlete in order to make my success greater for the whole team.
And the second point that he brought up goes back to that studying. He felt that your changeup was going to be a very important pitch, and when I've actually been able to watch you, I've noticed a lot of batters looking pretty silly when they throw it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think my changeup has definitely been developed since I've been here, which is such an essential pitch. If you can have an off speed and spin the ball, you're really going to have a hard time hitting off of that, keeping the batters off balance. So I think that's definitely helped a lot.
Just MAC play. How do you guys make sure you stay on course? Because I know the goal for everyone on this team is to repeat.
Oh yeah, definitely. And coming from Manhattan, I didn't even make MAC playoffs. So for me, just being able to go to the MAC championship will be amazing. But my goal is my expectation is to win the MAC championship. My goal is to win another regional game. So I think as long as our foot is on the gas and we don't let up, it's going to be a really hard time stopping us.
Well, Ava, thank you so much for taking the time. Back to the desk.
Guys, I had the opportunity to talk to Ava for a story that I wrote for Center Field just 3 days before that South Carolina performance. I couldn't help but not be happy for her in the way that she's been playing. But she's not the only pitcher that has been playing really well for them, right, Mike?
And unlike Metzger, who came in from Manhattan, you got a homegrown talent here in Stella Blanchard, who's really sprung up this season. Maybe avoid the overall statistics that you look at, because her in-conference slate is truly incredible. 4-0, 4 complete games, 2 shutouts, a 1.68 ERA, that's 7th in the conference. And she started in the non-conference slate against Charleston, where she threw 7 1/3, just 2 earned run ball, and 6 innings of 3 earned run ball against USF. 2 really good non-conference foes.
Mike, I feel like a lot of the pitching staff over the last few years of this Marist program, and it really is true this year, has gone the distance. They haven't really had to rely on a lot of the relief pitching. The starters really supplementing all those early innings into those late innings. It feels like Joe Assanio has really lucked out. Yes, obviously it's good recruiting, but the way that the Marist pitchers really pitch, it's very constant and allows them to go the entire game.
One thing that Joe has been more mindful of this year is that Ava and Stella have had injury problems throughout their careers. So when they've started series, they've been only doing just 1 game each, while last year Kaylie Myers was she would get the first start and the third start in every series.
And you got to highlight the relief pitchers who are taking on different roles this year. Anna Sidlowski has gone from starter to reliever, back to starter.
Yeah, let's focus on Anna Sidlowski. A lot of the staff has really improved over the last few years. Anna Sidlowski right now is on that dip. I'm not saying that she's not going to get back to her performance of 2024 where she was All-MAC rookie, but this year she's already allowed 71 hits to last year's 64 hits allowed. She's upwards of a 10.05 ERA. Last year, less than 3 ERA. The performance has shifted a little bit for Sidlowski in that new role. Right now, her dip is right here, but as the MAC playoffs come up, I know Joe and staff really want her to excel.
Well, yeah, they've been playing an unprecedented out-of-conference schedule, and obviously they're getting it together in conference, and one of those players trying to get it together is Kaylie DeChicchis. She had a good showing against South Carolina. She had 2 innings pitched. She had no hits and 1 strikeout. She's getting key experience early in her freshman year against some of the bigger bats in the nation. And Asanio, extremely high on her. It's just her second left-handed pitcher ever.
And Joe has been around at Marist for 18 years. He speaks really highly of her, and rightfully so. I mean, southpaws are great. Come on.
Yeah. And Joe is one of the.
You would know.
Joe is one of the best. You're a lefty yourself.
I am indeed.
Joe is one of the best people on this campus to have a conversation with. A
Absolutely.
former MLB pitcher. How often can you actually say that? Joe has been involved with the Renegades. He's Hudson Valley true and tried. Our own Luca Di Rienzo caught up with Joe Asanio to talk a little bit about this season.
Thank you, Will. Joe, thank you for being here.
Good to see you, Luca.
So I wanted to talk to you about last time we talked when you said when you recruited people to beat in-conference opponents. But when you beat a team like South Carolina at a conference, what does that mean for you as a coach and as a recruiter?
Well, you know, for me, it's more about the players than it is about me. So just the fact that, you know, they have been on that stage and they've gotten to beat, you know, one of the top 25 teams in the country. I think that is kind of why we do this, and you know, the fact that you can give them those opportunities, and you know, the elation of when that, you know, final strikeout happened, it was just incredible, and the girls were just on cloud 9. And I think for me, it's really about them. But when you're talking about recruiting, a lot of people took notice, and all of a sudden we had a lot more followers on Twitter and or X, and it just seems like people start to notice, you know, when you have some success, and people want to be a part of that.
You guys had 44 errors last season. 43 up to this point now. How do you plan on addressing those concerns?
Well, I think, you know, people take for granted the fact that we had such a senior-laden infield. You know, we had a senior at third, a senior at short, a senior at first. And so, you know, when you have people who have been around and kind of, you know, have played the game at a high level for so long, you kind of almost take that for granted, and you know, you don't realize how valuable the defensive part of the game was. And you know, right now we're starting 2 or 3 freshmen in the infield at a time, and you know, they're going to make mistakes. The best thing that we can do is just learn from those mistakes and try to minimize them and give our team the best chance to win.
Absolutely. Well, best chance to win. Let's talk about your pitchers. They've been phenomenal in MAC play. What does the on-field dialogue look like for you in those games?
Well, you know, listen, I just tell them, you know, I'm going to call the game. We do a lot of scouting. We do a lot of pregame scouting. We watch the hitters on film. And, you know, we try to formulate a game plan on how we're going to attack each hitter. And for them to just kind of utilize their pitches and making sure they're hitting the spots that we're calling the pitches, I think, you know, again, the credit goes to them. You know, they're making the pitches. We're just trying to give them the roadmap to success.
Absolutely. My last question for you. You're approaching 500 wins as a coach, your first coming in 2009 against Vermont. How have you been able to keep up that fire and that competitive energy throughout your career?
I don't think about it, honestly. I mean, usually Mike Ferraro's the one telling me, you know, there's a milestone coming, and I just kind of go out there and just, you know, try to keep my nose to the grindstone. Like I said, try to give these kids the best opportunity to play hard and win, and they're the ones who are responsible. You know, the kids and my assistant coaches, I mean, that, to me, that is not so much an individual award as it is a team award.
It's a great mentality to have, Joe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Back to you guys in the studio.
Just a truly great guy to conversate with, and in our few years, you've been here 4 years, 2 years, 1 year. He really is just a force. Well, let's take a look at how the pollsters saw the season happening before it went underway in the MAC softball preseason poll. Marist, the perennial #1 right now, they sit at that #1 167 votes on the coaches poll. Fairfield not far behind number 2. Siena to Fairfield only a 1 vote difference. Iona at 4, Sacred Heart 5, Ryder, Quinnipiac, Canisius, and rounding out the 9 to 13, it's Merrimack, the Jaspers, the Mountaineers, Niagara, and St. Peter's at that last spot.
Yeah, let me just jump in real quick. Marist was ranked 19th amongst all mid-majors going into this season as well.
So let's go ahead and talk about their MAC play. Why don't we?
Well, Marist faced off against Niagara. Nate, take us through that play.
Marist taking on the winless Niagara Purple Eagles in a 3-game series. Bottom of the 5th, game 1, Peyton Pusey is at bat. She slaps it to right center for an RBI single and ties the game at 1 apiece. Bottom of the 5th, extending their lead at the top of the 7th, 2-1. Ava Metzger strikes out CJ Haney. She goes the distance, completing her 3rd complete game of the season, 7 innings and 6 strikeouts. And then Peyton Pusey in game 2 drives one to deep left center for a home run. Marist taking a 4-0 lead, and Kunze would extend that lead with a 3-run homer of her own. Gone, and going as the Red Foxes extend their lead 9-2. Jumping over into game 3, Marist would jump ahead early once again as Livia Wiltsey drives one to deep left, home run extending Marist's early lead to 6-0. Marist would never look back and kept adding on runs through game 3. Marist has now won 19 straight in MAC regular season games after sweeping Niagara, and Peyton Pusey wins MAC Player of the Week.
From there, the Red Foxes would shut out the Peacocks, who came up from Jersey City 3-0 and 8-0. But we pick up in game 3, top 2 runners on. Marist up 1-0, but not for long. Summer Solidaria hits a double down the right field line. Peacocks up 2-1. Both runs, however, unearned for Anna Sidlowski. Marist committed 2 of their 6 errors on the day in this frame. Bottom of the 4th, runners on the corners. Lily Ramelis grounds out to short. It scores Sienna Kunze. The game all knotted up at 2 apiece through 4. But a rain delay would transpire from there. An hour and 45 minutes, nearly 2 hours of the tarp on and off. Bottom 5, runner on 3rd, same score. Haley R grounds one up the middle for a base hit, scoring Peyton Pusey. Marist takes the 3-2 lead. They haven't lost a home game since 2024, but that would change in the top of the 6th. Runners in scoring position. Steph Benz-Lowitz hits one into the gap into left center. She had 3 RBIs on the day as St. Peter's goes on to win 7-5. That's their first win in conference play and the Red Foxes' first loss in the MAC.
Isabella Mannery and the Red Foxes take on the Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers in a doubleheader. Game 1, top of the 1st, runners on the corner. Haley R, a single through the middle, scores 2. Marist has a 3-run lead, top of the 1st. R on the series, 4 for 9, 4 RBIs, and 1 run to go along with it. Game 2, top of the 3rd, 2 outs. Mannery up at the plate, a deep center field home run. That would make it past the warning track. Scores 2. Marist goes up 5. Mannery on the series, 4 for 7, 4 runs, 1 home run, and 1 DB. Bottom of the 4th, runner on 3rd, Gina Del Giorno. Sack flies to center, scoring 1 run. Mount, 3rd straight hit puts them within 1. Del Giorno on the series was 5 for 7, 5 RBIs, and 1 run. Stella Blanchard on the mound, 2 outs. Bottom of the 5th, Blanchard strikes out Tyra Christian as she got 10 strikeouts. That's a career high in 7.1 innings pitched. A complete game from Blanchard.
Marist has looked really good in MAC play, coming off that really tough non-conference slate that we mentioned earlier. As we take a look at who Marist is going to play moving on in the season, especially as MAC play round series set for Iona, Sacred Heart, Ryder, and finishing out with QU and Canisius.
And the first 4 that you see on your screen, all of those teams are above 500. Ironically, every team that is on your screen right now is ranked 4 through 8 in order from the preseason poll, which bit of an oddity, I guess.
Those 3 games in the middle are going to be very important if we want to do a live show.
Yeah, it's a good test for them. You mentioned the next 3 different teams they play are the 4, 5, 6 from the MAC poll. It's a great test coming up.
And the pitching we mentioned has been kind of a strong suit so far for the Foxes, but the offense has been fantastic. Their hitters have just improved from last year.
Well, not exactly, because it's a little bit younger. They're coming up. But the big one and their most important player is without a doubt Haley Yard. She led the NCAA in batting average last year at .508. Her numbers this year are down, in my opinion, for 2 reasons. One, the out-of-conference schedule was a lot harder. The second reason, doesn't have the production of Maddie Pleasance But that being said, her in-conference numbers are absolutely amazing. The defense has been a little shaky. She has 10 errors, and this is a team that has more errors this year than they did last year. But the most important part, she was a captain last year. She's the vocal leader, and she's given every hitter advice after every single at-bat when she can.
Guys, we work for Marist Athletics. Why don't we support one of our own? How about Peyton Pusey, the leadoff hitter who works for Marist Athletics, a 320 average on the season. That's up to 382 in MAC play, an OPS nearing 950 and 10 RBIs earlier this year. In one of her first games, she set the MAC record for most runs in a career. Truly impressive through all 4 seasons. Extremely hyped on the field. Very quiet off the field, but when she gets in between the lines, she is ready to go and is one of the anchors of this team.
Yeah, Pusey, a big hitter, but not just a hitter, a table setter is Annabelle Geyser. She has just come onto the scene and been pretty solid throughout the start. She's hitting around 354 with a strong on-base percentage of a 480. That's elite. Excellent plate discipline, 20 walks to just 18 strikeouts.
Love somebody who can walk a lot.
Yeah,
Love
she pitches well, and she does not chase whatsoever.
Isabella Mannery, another player on this Red Fox team who's just surpassing the MAC standings right now, playing really well, involved in this Marist offense. She is slugging at a 7.41 slug percentage, good for second, 552 on base percentage, and her OPS up to 1.270. She's been stellar on the hitting path, on the base path. She's been doing it all right now for Marist in the MAC standings.
And I feel like there's so many more players we can point to have come onto the scene, but another big one, Sienna Kunze. She won the MAC Player of the Week when they beat South Carolina. Right now in MAC play, she's at a 1,300 OPS with 4 homers. She's seeing those pitchers really, really well, and her OPS has jumped almost 500 points from the out-of-conference slate.
An 828 slugging percentage? Are you serious? That's most people's OPS, and that's just her slugging.
I think the most shocking part about it is that she doesn't have the most power on the team. When it comes to hitting the ball the furthest, without a doubt, Sam Rogers.
As Marist faces off into this second part of the MAC season, what are the expectations right now for the Red Foxes?
You talk to anybody on this team, it's to win the MAC championship. I talked to Joe before the season started. He said, I hope he gets to send us on another trip, whether that be Oklahoma like it was last year, or not Oklahoma, it was A&M last year, or South Carolina. You know, that's the expectations that they hold themselves to, and they've certainly been playing like it to start MAC play.
Yeah, the expectations are most certainly the MAC championship, and they all think, Joe Assanio, Peyton Pusey, that they can be better than they were last year, and that is saying a lot. You get in a phone booth with Joe Assanio and these Red Foxes, and you might get punched in the mouth.
Have you gone into a phone booth with Joe Assanio yet this season?
I can't imagine. I want.
You know he's got a
WWE
WWE career, right?
What?
He's got a WWE career. He's done some wrestling.
That stands to the point. Yeah, I wouldn't want to get a 3-game series to Joe Assanio.
You speak of 3. I wouldn't expect a 3 seed this year out of the Red Foxes, unlike last year, the first time that they ever did it. However, I think that could benefit them because last year they played in the toughest bracket in that first round, playing in the A&M bracket where they had to play Liberty as well. I think if they get a top 4 seed as opposed to a low 3, that could actually benefit them come NCAA tournament time.
I don't really think on the Red Foxes side they're really aiming to get the seeding differential when it comes into the NCAA playoffs.
They just want one of these.
They just want another ring. Yeah, like Nick, maybe a little nicer than Nick's. But as they move towards that end of season, the goal, if they want to host, they have the opportunity to host, and of course they just want to get that MAC championship. I don't think the seeding necessarily matters, whether it's even in the MAC or outside the MAC. Once if they win the championship, I think the ring on the finger is the goal.
Haley told me in 2023 when they won the MAC, they said, we went 1-9 over spring break. We were a 3 seed. No one thought we would be Canisius, and they did.
Well, the MAC season just going underway into that second part. And we move to Marist baseball, who has looked really good in MAC play after a really tough out-of-conference slate.
Absolutely. I mean, they played Vanderbilt. They played East Tennessee. They were playing Purdue. I mean, we're talking Big Ten. We're talking the SEC here.
It was Marist who went down to Tennessee to take on the defending SEC champs in the Vanderbilt Commodores in a 3-game set. In the bottom of the 5th, runners on the corners, Braden Holcomb goes opposite field for a 3-run blast. Holcomb would go 6 for 11 with 6 ribbies in the series. Marist would go on to lose all 3 games to the Commodores.
Red Foxes head down to Jamaica. No, we're talking Queens off back-to-back wins against the Jaspers. We pick up in the top of the first. It's a wild pitch. TJ Bear takes advantage and scores. Foxes up 1-0 early as Bear gets his 16th run in just 13 games. Bottom of the fifth, Marist up 1-0. Jader Raffstanger hits a line drive up the middle into center field. And yes, that's the former Red Fox, Luis Rodriguez, who's batted home. Johnny's tie it up at 1 apiece. That's the 4th RBI on the campaign. Top of the 8th, still knotted up at 1. Bases loaded, full count. Nate Lincoln at the plate and strikes out swinging at the mercy of Tyler Longoria. That's his 5th K in just 2 innings. The final 2 of the game. Johnny's get out of a pickle in the 8th. Bottom 9 tied up at 1, but not for long. Adam Agrezzi takes it and swings for the fences. How about a walk-off homer? That's the Red Storm's 2nd walk-off game winner in the 5-game homestand. Marist loses 3-1 and fall to 2-12 on the campaign.
Marist hosting NJIT at McCann Field for a single game showdown. Bottom of the 2nd, Marist up 3-0. TJ Bear smacks it over the left side of the warning track. This was Bear's 3rd home run on the year as Marist takes an early 4-0 lead and brings the boom. The Highlanders know how to respond, however. Top of the 7th, 8-0 run, and they extend that with a Connor Clock single out to right field, bringing in Dylan Cann. But an arid throw from first to third base allowed Connor Rippo to score an unearned run. 1 of 3 errors for Marist on the day as NJIT extends their lead 10-4. Bottom of the 8th, 2 men on base. Kyle Pollock hits a 3-run homer, Pollock's 2nd home run on the year, and brings Marist back within 2, 11-9. Count the runners. 1, 2, 3, and the last will be Pollock bringing it home and embracing his teammates. And then 2 outs. Bottom of the 9th. Noel Rivera is the man on first base. He attempts to steal second, is thrown out by the catcher Connor Clock. Marist gets caught stealing and loses the game 11-9. Marist falls to 10-17 on the year.
You speak of the number 11. Marist started 0-11 this year, so I think that's really impressive that they're 10-17 right now. That means they've won a lot of their games when it matters most. They're 10-2 in the MAC, but the one concern that I personally have, the tough part of their schedule is coming up, and it starts with Ryder.
I think Ryder is a really tough opponent. Fairfield, one of the bigger opponents in the conference, but when you look at the conference as a whole, the MAC baseball slate is not a top-tier conference, right? So pitching is where the issue arises for a lot of these teams, and especially Marist, whether it's this year, the year prior, even the year before that, pitching was the issue. Giving up the amount of walks that they gave up, giving up the amount of pass balls, errors. Some of the sloppy baseball was very prominent in that early non-conference slate, and so far they've kind of cleaned it up just a bit.
Marist baseball hasn't been above 500 since 2022, but since Lance Rashford took over in 2023, they've steadily improved every single year. They're just 2 games under 500 last year. And they had the most MAC championship wins since 2017 with 3. 2 of them did come in the consolation bracket, but that's a step in the right direction.
Although the MAC overall ERA is usually around a 5 every year, the hitting is elite. And Connor Lawrence, one of those guys that is important to the Red Fox lineup. A 460 on-base percentage to start the year. Like I said, I love a guy who can walk a lot and get on base. 280 average. He's got 18 RBIs, which is 2nd on the team. 9 of 10 in stolen bases, just doing the small ball things to get the lineup going.
Yeah, doing the small ball things was all MAC rookie team member Noel Rivera from last year. He's a gap-to-gap hitter with real pop, real power. He's first on this team with 4 home runs. He could steal bases. He's 13 for 18 on stolen base attempts. We did see the error on that last play against NJIT. But he hit 291 as a freshman. He's improved that to 320 plus. He's a steadily improved player.
The power right now is kind of prominent. We've seen a bunch of home runs, whether it's here at McCann or at Heritage Financial Field. Kyle Pollock really has delivered. He delivered a home run in the 11-9 game. Luca Rienzo, our own Luca, caught up with Kyle to see what was going on in the season.
I would say those out-of-conference games have prepared us tremendously. I mean, we've had a pretty hard Eastern Tennessee, right into Vanderbilt, right into Purdue. Those are not very 3 teams to look highly on. Those are very good squads. So I think that prepared us very much for the MAC conference, especially hitting-wise. Seeing these tough arms, seeing these high-velocity guys, and then coming into MAC play, it's definitely helped us a lot.
And another guy that we haven't talked about is TJ Bear, who's also been on a tear for Marist, pun fully intended. A OPS north of 1, the 11th best OBP in the conference in MAC play at 519. Guys, that's absolutely electric. And our own Tommy Berry had the opportunity to catch up with him.
Thanks, guys. I'm joined alongside Marist outfielder TJ Bear. TJ, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
First question I have for you is, at home, both of your brothers played collegiate soccer, Max at Gettysburg and Jack at Franklin and Marshall. Growing up in that household of 3 collegiate athletes, with you included, what kind of competitiveness did that drive into you?
Yeah, a ton. I mean, growing up in a soccer family, I was always the odd one out, playing baseball. But I decided to take that path and, differ myself from the others. But it definitely drove a competitive edge. I mean, I sat there and watched my brothers play at a varsity soccer as a young kid, 5th grade, 6th grade. And I always wanted to play in that competitive environment.
And then you guys are also being pretty successful in conference, going 10-2 right now. What is kind of your factor to keeping up that success?
We're just playing hard, we're playing fast, we're playing for each other, and we're just taking what's given to us. We're taking our walks, our hits, and we're coming through for each other. Especially yesterday's game against Siena. We were down 6-0 to start, but we had a huge 9-run 5th inning, and that really boosted our stock and got the sweep.
Before you came here, you were named top 3 MAC Impact Freshman by D1 Baseball. What did getting that recognition mean to you before you even played a single game?
It was great. I was really appreciative of it. It was really cool to see, just being that I haven't even stepped on the field yet. But yeah, it was awesome. It gave me, even more confidence to go out there and just do what I can do. And yeah, it was awesome.
And then in your 3rd game, you kind of did what you did against perennial powerhouse SEC. Kind of what did it feel like to go into such facilities and down on that trip and go yard and kind of prove to everyone that you deserved your shot to be here?
Yeah, I mean, it was an surreal feeling. Just even playing on that field, Hawkins Field, is just unbelievable. The talent that we faced is just unlike nothing I've ever experienced before. So it was just an awesome experience. And to even poke that ball out, it was just a crazy feeling.
And then as a freshman in high school, you're the only freshman to start on varsity. Now coming to Marist, you also have another freshman with you in that role, Connor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. What's that bond you guys have kind of created going through these shared experiences?
Yeah, he's my guy. We're learning together. Ups and downs, we both struggled. We both had our ups and downs, obviously. But yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome having someone young with me, during this experience, and it's great. We feed off each other and we have each other's back. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, TJ, for taking your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Back to the desk, guys.
Thanks so much, Tommy. As we take a look at what Marist is going to face off against their predetermined preseason poll. Where is Marist facing off in that poll right now? Fairfield, Ryder, Quinnipiac, and Sacred Heart in the preseason poll go top 4. Marist slated at that 6th position, tied with Siena. Mount St. Mary's just above them at 5. Niagara, Manhattan, Iona, Canisius, Merrimack, and St. Peter's. St. Peter's in both softball and baseball in that last spot. Marist really surpassing expectations in conference slate right now.
But do note that only the top 6 teams make the playoffs this year, as opposed to last year and was top 8. So Marist being tied with Siena right now. If the pollsters are right, the two are going to have to duke it out, battle of I-87 to get into the postseason.
They do have a harder schedule coming up, but if they can keep it together, they've almost totaled their best MAC season with their coach. Their best was 14 wins. They're already at 10, and they have a multitude of games left. You never know where they could finish in the MAC.
Coach Ratch has some really strong returning pitchers as well, Mike, that you wanted to touch about.
Oh, absolutely. The fact that their retention is so high is incredible. Nearly 70% of the innings that they had are coming back, and that's being used at nearly an 85% clip this season from those returning guys. Ratch is going to the people that he knows, and it makes sense. It's working for him, because when we look at this pitching in conference, I mean, they're top of the league.
As we take a look for a bunch of these players, it feels like when they made in-conference play, when they started that, the strength just skyrocketed. And Coach Ratch has a lot of pitchers that actually returned, and with this MAC play, like you said, Duda, they've really turned on performance-wise.
Yes, overall, they have an under 4 ERA, 3.28, and they average 5.7 strikeouts per game, just 4.8 runs allowed, and 8.5 hits allowed. In conference, they're keeping it fairly clean.
That's going to be the biggest key for them going forward. Will Taylor was their ace last year. Hopefully he can continue that throughout the rest of this regular season. And when it comes to MAC baseball, usually the ones that pitch the best are going to end up as MAC champions.
That's baseball, Susan.
That's my key as well. You got to keep it clean in MAC play. Fairfield, they're just dangerous. So if you keep Fairfield in check. These are for the other teams. The key is to keep Fairfield in check on the other side, and you take a look at the entire standings. Right now, Marist at that number 1 and number 2 spot, they're flip-flopping. If Marist can get that 1, 2, or 3 after basically no expectations, I think that's the expectation.
Yeah, and I think it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. We look at the NJIT game. They didn't start great. They almost finished really nicely, but then they just come short on a missed stolen base opportunity. You start out MAC play pretty well. You want to finish out strong.
Absolutely. I love the pitching side of things that we're talking about, though, because that's what baseball comes down to. It's all pitching. It's
Former
all
pitcher,
defense.
by the way.
Who cares about the offense? If you pitch well, you're going to win ball games.
Marist softball and baseball, they continue their MAC slate. Will Marist softball host, and will Marist baseball get into the playoffs a few more weeks of this season? To go alongside Mike Duda, Nate Babcock, Nick Chiarito, I've been William Rosen. Thanks for spending part of your day with the Red Fox Report. Take care.